Hello everyone, how are you today? So today we are going to continue our lesson that is about teaching and learning speaking in chapter 6. Okay, in the previous video you studied chapter 6 part 1. Today you are going to study chapter 6 part 2. Okay, video part 2. The last video, the previous video you study until uh, what's made okay at this point. Okay, type of classroom speaking performance. Okay, so today we start from this one. Okay, type of classroom speaking performance. What are type of classroom speaking performance? Okay, the first one is imitative. Imitative is a type of classroom activity that we okay, drill offer student an opportunity to listen to or repeated certain string of language that may pose some linguistic difficulty, either chronological or grammatical. So imitative is one of the type of speaking performance, so we can read and then ask the student to follow or play the uh, tab and ask the student to repeat what is it in the speakers are speaking. Okay, here are some useful guidelines for successful drill. Example like keep them short. Okay, a few minutes of class, an hour only. So the drill must be short, do not to be long. So you can ask the student to repeat that to imitate or repeat or imitate what the speaker, what they hear. Okay, keep them simple, preferably just one point at a time. Okay, keep them snappy. Okay, make sure students know why they are doing this drill. So the student can perform well unless the student understand what is the purpose of the drill. So this is very important. Before we ask students to practice the drill to the activity, we have to inform the student clearly. Okay, and keep them fast. Keep them snappy. I mean, keep them fast. Because the practice must be fast. Okay, limit them to phonology or grammar point. This is two. Sorry. Okay, make sure they ultimately lead to communicative goals. So must be sure that the imitative technique can lead the student to communicative goal, the guide for the communication. Okay, don't overuse them. Do not use too much time. Okay, number 2 is intensive. Okay, intensive. Okay, intensive speaking performance is designed to practice some phonological or grammatical aspect of the language. Can we can set the speaking activity by practicing the sound of the language or the grammar point that we have touched. So we set the activity for intensive performance, speaking performance by using the target language that you touch the student, like phonological or grammatical aspect of the language. Intensive speaking can be self-initiated or it can be even form part of some pair work activity where learners are going over certain form of the language. So we can set as the pair work that they can by using the language that we have taught. Okay, responsive. Okay, responsive. Short reply to teachers or student initiated question or comment. So responsive means also the kind of classroom speaking performance. When we ask, the student can reply. The student can respond to the by using the language, grammar, language target item, or the phonological or grammatical aspects, example like that. Okay, this reply usually sufficient and do not extend into dialogue. This is just the student reply what the teacher asks. It's not in the form of dialogue. This is also speaking performance, classroom speaking performance. Number 4 is transactional. Transactional dialogue. Transactional, the transactional is a kind of transactional dialogue is a kind of communication that is not face to face, but by example, a phone call or the writing in the form of writing message and example like that. This is the we call transactional dialogue. We can ask the student to write in the form of the message or the in reply in the writing form. Okay, transactional dialogue carried out for the purpose of conveying or exchanging specific information is an extended form of responsive language. Interpersonal dialogue means face-to-face dialogue. The interactive, the speaker must be interactive. Interpersonal dialogue carry out more for purpose of maintaining social relationship than for transaction, fake, and information. These conversations are a little trickier for learner because they can involve some of the following factors like casual registers, casual and normal. Example like in the dialogue in the situation of registers, colloquial language, colloquial language and formal language. So the dialogue can be in the form of colloquial language. Emotional, emotionally charged language. Okay, slang, can we use the slang? Okay, ellipsis. Okay, ellipsis is omission how to omit to use in a short form of the language. Ellipsis. Okay, interpersonal dialogue. Can you like sarcasm? So the dialogue can be in the following like sarcasm, like okay, covered agenda. Example. Learner would need to learn how much features as the relationship between interlocutor, casual style, and sarcasm are coded linguistically in this conversation. Okay, number 6. So the speaking performance, classroom speaking performance is the form of extensive, can be in a monologue. Monologue it is speaking alone, monologue. Students at intermediate to advanced level are called on to give extended monologues in the form of oral report, summary, or perhaps short speech. So the speech in the form of report summarize when we ask the student to report or summarize the lesson. Perhaps we can say a short speech that we call extensive. Uh, we can say monologue is extensive monologue. This is the kind of speaking performance in the class. Here the register is more formal and deliberative. Okay, this monologue can be planned or impromptu. Okay, this is the point that we can use from the previous video. In fact, I separated the last video until slide 23, but it lasts too long, so I finish before slide 23. So I will continue, don't waste the time because this lesson is a little bit long. I don't know this video is finished or not. Okay, principle for designing speaking techniques. And what are the principles for designing technique? Okay, use techniques that cover the spectrum of learner need, from language-based focus on accuracy to message-based on accuracy, meaning, and fluency. So when we design the technique for a student to practice speaking, they have to think about the student basic need. Focus on accuracy, so to message-based focus on accurate, interactive, meaning, and fluency. 2. Provide intrinsically motivating techniques. So the technique that we design must be motivate students to speak, to learn. Encourage the use of authentic language in meaningful contexts. So encourage the student to use the authentic language. Okay. Number 4, provide appropriate feedback and correction. So the technique that can be provide feedback and correction capitalize on the natural link between speaking and listening. Okay, so when we design a technique, think about the link between speaking and listening. Okay, give a student opportunity to initiate oral communication. So the technique must be the technique that we design for a student to practice their communication. Encourage the development of speaking strategy. Okay, here are some examples of the techniques. Okay, like reflection techniques, task 1. This is kind of classroom performance techniques. We can ask the student to one of the students to use this table information to ask their classmate. Example: find someone who like a pair work, enjoy duel. You can ask the student to do that survey, and I write the name. Okay, doesn't like creating dialogue or acting it out. Doesn't like speaking in front of the whole class. Okay, like it when one student read aloud to the whole class from a text example like that. All of these are examples of the technique that we can set for a student to practice in the class. Okay, speaking activity like this one here. Okay, task 2, fill in the gap. So this also a classroom speaking performance. The technique that can be set for the student to practice speaking in class by completing a questionnaire. Okay, learner have the questionnaire below about the teachers. They ask teachers the question and complete their questionnaire. So you can ask one of the students to practice by using this questionnaire, and then they write the answer here. Example: Are you married? Do you have children? If so, how many? What are their name? What are their name? Where do you live? This is the example of speaking performance in class. Okay, so one more speaking activity be like having a discussion. Okay, learner work in group of four. They are they have a discussion answering question below, and then tell the rest of the class what they decided. Example: What would you do if? We set some condition for students to practice in a class. This technique is we can ask the student to work in a group of four by using this technique. What would you do if someone failed in a class? What would you do if you left your English homework at home or something like that? This is the speaking activity that we can set for students to practice. Okay, this is also practice speaking practice in a class reading the dialogue aloud. Okay, one more speaking this is creating and editing a weather forecast. Okay, example: by yourself write weather forecast from for UK tomorrow. Example: the student can see the connection of today, so they can write the weather connection. You can ask. This is a kind of extensive performance. Academic task 3. Talking the hind legs of a donkey. This is a kind of speaking performance. Student give instruction to your partner to draw the pictures. Start like this. Draw a rectangle. This is the one student give the instruction, and one student listen and follow the student instruction. Example: student A and student B. Student A give the instruction and student B draw what the student A speak. This is also kind of speaking performance. This is the link between listening and speaking and listening. So the speaker speak and the listener try to follow what the speaker speak. Okay, another activity is right here. This activity is said to be work in pair. Student A and student B. Student A and the mother or father. Student B and student A son or daughter. Okay, look at the page here. Example: this is student A, this is student B. So we can give the student a copy of this and ask them what should the student A do, what should the student B do. This is a kind of speaking performance as well. And one more here, speaking activity C. These are the example of speaking performance as well. Do your parent let you stay? I will go to the school, invite a friend home. This we can you can ask the student to work in pair as well and take turn. Student A and student B and complete the answer here, and student B and student A complete. Okay, so this is the speaking will be interactive. Will be interactive. Okay, extra speaking techniques in detail. In fact, there are a lot of detail in I want more detail. Detail for I want more. Okay, find connection for active acting for acting. Okay, five connection for acting speaking. Okay, here are five basic connection which are necessary if you seriously want your student to learn speaking English in your class. Okay. Okay, the first one is that teachers speak a lot English in the class. So if you want to teach speaking and you want your student to speak a lot in the class using English, so you as a teacher must speak a lot of English in the class. Two, students get a lot of listening experience from teacher and other students. So while you use a lot of speaking, while you use a lot of English in the class, your student will experience listening, and they also experience listening with their classmates. There is a rapid build-up of basic vocabulary using the lower secondary vocabulary syllabus. And one more, basic grammar teaching and learning is meaningful. This is the five connection for speaking activity. Teaching grammar teaching and learning must be meaningful so your student understand what the use of the grammars, the use of the language, the basic language, the common language. Number five, appropriate elementary communication techniques are used. Give students opportunity to negotiation of the meaning. So this is the technique that the connection that the student can be active in speaking, activating, activating in the active. This is activating of the activity. Okay, number one more. Meaningful drill. We can use true for repetition drill. We can use respond and add drill. Okay, multiple substitution drill. Okay, situation cue. Okay, wrap out and remember using substitution table, predicting dialogue. Okay, chain again. So all of these are the useful drill for the student to practice speaking. And one way, guessing with question. So we can set the techniques here for the student to practice in a class, like true for repetition drill, respond and add drill. And what is student respond multiply substitution drill, situation cue, wrap and remember using substitution table. We can use the table for the student as a clue for the practice speaking skill, predicting dialogue, guessing game, and guessing with question. Three, elementary communication techniques. Elementary communication techniques. Okay, the communication techniques are a type of techniques which help students learn to communicate by actually communicating. By attempting to communicate with each other, these techniques student get many opportunity to try to use grammar, vocabulary to negotiate their own message at their own pace and in their own time. Okay, so this is the this elementary of communicate communication techniques. Okay, one more is student control over their own negotiation of meaning is an important part of learner-centered teaching and learning. Yes, the student can use their own ideas, they can use their own opinion, but they just use the language target item that we want our student to practice, like grammar, vocabulary that we teach, but they can use the grammar item or vocabulary item by in the communication by using their own pace, their own message. Okay, look at key principle. This principle explains why elementary communication techniques are so important and how they help students to learn the communication face to face with the other. Okay, so in order to teach the student speaking, so you have to set a lot of activity and you have to use a lot of techniques so they can practice. There's a lot of English in the form of communication face to face in the class. Students need elementary communication techniques, ETC, elementary communication techniques, as the bridge between very controlled work drill to free communication. Okay, just sitting in pair and group is not doing group work. Student must be doing good communication technique together. So when we ask the student to work in group or whatever within pair must be so that the technique that we set for the student they can have opportunity to practice the language together. Okay, elementary communication techniques are based on the information web principle. Okay, can use number 4. Students learn through negotiation of simple and factual meaning. Grammar and vocabulary practice is under student control when they do elementary communication techniques. Elementary communication techniques, so the student can use the grammar or vocabulary to practice. Student can student get the necessary quality and quantity of speaking through ECT. Okay, students are sheltered from embarrassment when they work in pair or in small groups, so they are willing to take the risk of speaking in English. So when we select techniques for our students to practice, you have to motivate them not to be shy or not be afraid of making mistakes while they are speaking their English. If so, they cannot make the communication, they cannot use the language that we have taught. And one more is the teacher can influence student choice and use of English through design of techniques, particularly the selection of data. So we can help the student to choose the technique to design the techniques and select the data for our student to practice the language target item. Okay, students learn very little in L1 if techniques and texts are well chosen. L1 and fourth language, the student own language. Meaningful repetition is an essential part of the learning. So the meaningful repetition is an essential part of the learning. We can ask the student to repeat. So we have to set a lot of activity and drill for the student to repeat the drill. Repetition drill. 11. ECT here meet 5 important criteria for a light class techniques. And this is the end of the unit 2, chapter 6, part 2. So it is also time because a little bit long. This lesson is a bit long, it's 30 minutes already. So I would like to say thank you for all of you that try to watch and listen to this video lesson. Okay, thank you. See you next lesson. And don't forget to watch and do the exercise. I will provide you the exercise and okay lesson in the form of the PowerPoint as well. Bye bye. See you.